since that, the game at Arsenal, which was obviously very disappointing, Dyche's most disappointing moments as Everton. The derby, yeah, but Arsenal was obviously the heaviest defeat. Everton have gone on a 4-game unbeaten run, which for a team in this position is actually quite good to show that form. I think a lot of people thought after that West Ham game in January that it looked like it was, just lost at home to Southampton, went to West Ham, lost there. Even though Sean Dyche was coming in, it looked like Everton were going to go because they just didn't seem capable of scoring goals. Team wasn't together. January finished without any transfers. You've been in, we've been like, can we do it? Can we keep the momentum going? And all of a sudden, they got a little bit of momentum, albeit, okay, Forest was a little bit frustrating because we were, 13 minutes from winning and against the team we probably should have beat. And then Monday night, before the Corey gets sent off, I'm looking at Spurs thinking that they were nothing. This is here. This is here for the taking. And then the end, the way it panned out, I honestly think if Everton would have had another 5 minutes, they'd have won the game. The time ran away from them a little bit, but we end up getting a decent point. So in the last 4 games, have you seen enough resilience and enough in what Sean Dyche is doing to believe that Everton are in a much stronger position for getting away from?
Definitely in a strong position. I think that's clear. I think that it's obvious the impact that he's had on that team, on that squad, and we're seeing it in the results, and we're seeing it in the way that you mentioned the word resilience. One of the things that he could play Dyche bingo a little bit because there are a number of phrases that he returns to repeatedly, but one of them is the relentless mentality. And in fairness to him, I think these are principles rather than empty words that he keeps repeating because you can see that relentless mentality in it. I asked him about this plenty of times over the past 6 weeks or so, and he essentially wants his players to believe that no matter who's on the pitch and who they're playing against, there's always a possibility they can get something out of the game. And that couldn't have been any more clear than it was against Chelsea just before the break, and as it was against Spurs the other day, last-minute equalisers in both games. And you just look at how crucial they are to building momentum and to getting points into the table. If Everton had lost both those games, which it so nearly did, if they were 2 points worse off that table, it still looks scary now, but it would look a hell of a lot worse without them. So I think you can certainly see that he's having an impact on them. And they're obviously in a much stronger position as a result, but they're still in jeopardy. And I think that's the concern. I think the thing that worried me, was going into the game against Spurs. Obviously, Everton were in the relegation zone. When you look back at Dyche's 8 games before then, all right, there'd been low moments in the derby and Arsenal, but you say that's not a team really. If you look at that in a microcosm, that's not a team that deserves to be in the bottom 3. Obviously, he's inherited a situation which means that even those points that he got in that period, weren't enough to get them out of the bottom 3. But that wasn't a bottom 3 team. I almost felt a bit unfair that Everton were going into Monday after that weekend in the bottom 3. They're not that bad, surely. But they still were there, and that's the problem. And until you start winning games, you just need to keep up. You think of everything that Dyche has done, all the points, all the positive performances, all the positives that we can take out of everything that we've seen under Dyche so far. It's still got them to a point where they're only just on the periphery, positive side of the relegation zone, the dotted line, but they're still in that mess. And that's because obviously other clubs are picking up points as well. So, I think Everton are they have the momentum. There are other sides that, for all the chaos that's engulfed Everton this season, and there has been a hell of a lot. But for all that, all of a sudden they're actually one of the most serene sides in the. Imagine saying this 8 weeks ago. Everton one of the most stable sides in the bottom half. You look at start at Chelsea, but you look at Leicester, you look at West Ham, and a couple of others, and you think, wow. Sean Dyche is the 14th longest serving Premier League manager. which is just mad. It's absolutely mad, isn't it? But I think that. He's done everything that he can to give them the best chance of survival. And, it feels like at a time when several other clubs in and around the relegation battle are in a very, very negative kind of pathway, on a negative trajectory, Everton are on a positive one. I don't think you can put a price on that. That doesn't mean to say that they're going to go to Old Trafford and win. It doesn't mean to say there's every chance that they come out this weekend with the fixtures that there are back in the relegation zone. But I think it does mean that whatever happens at the weekend, and whatever happens in the next few weeks, it's important to kind of maintain that wider perspective and just say, look how far everything have come, and in the round you have more faith in Dyche to keep Everton out of this as opposed to some of the other managers, some of the other clubs based on where they are at the moment. You'd have to say that Dyche's done pretty well. He's done pretty well. hopefully he'll continue that to the end of the season.
Seeing there's been a lot of talk around that, and it is, I suppose it is almost a pat on the back for Everton, is that a lot of the conversation now has Everton not getting relegated, whereas in January it was Everton anew. You know, who else is getting relegated here, because Everton looked odds on, and that is a big thing, a big signal to how well he has done, is that a lot of these pundits, experts, whatever you want to call them, are now saying Everton will be fine with him, and he's done it without a centre forward, which is you know, Everton, the biggest problem Everton have had all season, and we touched on it right at the beginning of this with the Dominic Calvert-Lewin stuff, was simply haven't had a striker. You know, and Maupay wasn't the answer, and hasn't been, and Dyche doesn't even bring him on now. I think that's, you know, that'll end very quickly. I think in this summer we've had Damari Gray up there, we've tried Ellis Sims up there, you know, but he's been able to somehow find a way to get goals, and hopefully that'll continue over these last 9 games. And if he does keep Everton up, then I think you get to the summer, and if he can bring in some attacking talent for next season, people who've got a history of scoring goals, then I think Everton might be fine moving forward. The problem is he's got to negotiate this now, and the only thing that destabilises this or puts this in jeopardy is he might run out of games, because he's look at the games he's had already. He's had Arsenal twice, he's had Liverpool, he's had Chelsea, he's had Tottenham. He's only been Everton manager for 9 games. 5 of them are against them teams, you know, and away from home. You know, Liverpool away, Arsenal away, Chelsea away in that time. Difficulty still. Obviously got Manchester United and Spurs and Newcastle who were third, and he's obviously got Man City to come. But those other 6 games will be where Everton stay up. And I think I don't know whether you agree, but Monday night, even though you can look and go, it's 2 points dropped a little bit, even though Spurs are in the Champions, or we're in the Champions League places, we're gonna have to now find that victory away at either Leicester, Crystal Palace or Wolves. I think Everton have to almost get 5 points out of those 3 away games.
I don't think you can I know that, again, Sean Dyche, we heard it today, he'll never say, oh, must win, things like that. He won't. Obviously, if he does that, yeah, but we can. We can. And I think Leeds was a must-win and won it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Brentford became a must-win after conceding a late goal against Forest and the man that performance, because that was there to win. Yeah. Obviously, they won that. Fulham at home just seems massive. You know, Manchester United haven't been in the best of form of late, but ultimately, you know that you could go to Old Trafford, play very well, and still lose. Yeah. And you kind of just have to put your hands up and say, well, look at the 2 squads. Yeah. That Fulham game, you know, we know how valuable Goodison is. You know, of course, we know Mitrovic for them. That is just going to be such a massive game in terms of Everton could well find themselves in the bottom 3 again at the weekend, going into that Fulham game. You know, it's hard to see, and then there's Palace after that, and Palace I don't think Palace will be in the relegation battle again. And I think, you know, for all that was going on,
only 1 win above Everton, though.
Only 1 win above Everton, yeah. But I mean, their fixtures are
they play everyone in the bottom half.
And I mean, okay, obviously those teams have all got something to play for, but I think Palace will be okay. You know, you think Everton probably got to win one of those 2 games to help get themselves into a position where they can put the rest of the points from here. I mean, Wolves away, Bournemouth at home, last 2 games of the season. But before that, you have the run that includes City. You know, I don't see a way in which it's not a roller coaster. No. I think ultimately it comes down to if this becomes a relegation battle, it's about organisation. Who staying up depends on who the most organised side are. Dyche walks it, as he has done.